Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have quite a few different things to go and cover up over here in regards now to the brand new PlayStation 5. Now, as you guys may or may not have known, there actually has been a more proper update that's actually came out over here for the PlayStation 5 itself, and it kind of changes the internals, changed some other, just basic things, and I do think it seems like it is a little bit better. Now, it actually is quite a bit different too in the internals that came out, so I want to go talk about this because we actually had some cool folks such as Austin Evans and a lot of other folks as well do a little bit more of a deep dive, physically have the consoles on hand, and have been able to go and change and utilize the console a little bit more so we know exactly what has been changed inside of it. So we just have a lot of good things to go and talk about all throughout this video. And as well, if any of you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notification on, especially if you guys missed the queen out there. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below, the Target and Amazon links too as well down below, and let's dive into the video itself. So, as you guys may have heard, there's been two major big changes for the PlayStation 5. Number one is that they have, unfortunately, decided to increase the price point for the console itself. So as you guys know, there has been a pretty big skyrocket on prices, although thankfully it is only here for America, or for anything outside of America. America is still the same pricing, everywhere else is actually just all a different price. Which does kind of stink, but at least for us in America, at least as of now, we still have a chance to enjoy the console. But as I mentioned, there has been some really big internal changes, and it does actually, I think, seemingly seem better. It will make the console ideally run better, and anyone who gets a future console as well should be, well, pretty happy about it. Although we have had a few iterations of consoles so far. I believe this is the third different console iteration from the base to a pretty large change about a year ago into now this one. It does seem like every single time it is getting better and better and better, and is also at the kind of big point for this one is it cost less to ship because it's less heavy. They made sure both on the digital and disc editions to basically go and cut down the weight, which is annoying because I'd rather of them just cut down the weight and then maybe kept the prices the same, but unfortunately they decided to cut down the weight, make it easier to ship and send consoles out, and then also increase the prices in other jurisdictions. So let's go talk about this because we've actually had some pretty cool and nifty news that came out with it, and well, let's talk about it. So basically, Sony's brand new PlayStation 5 has been totally redesigned inside and even uses even less power. So the lighter PS5 also does have a brand new motherboard, and as well, as we thought about when this console first came out, also brand new cooling and a brand new internal system to basically make it run a little bit better. So Sony has totally revamped the internal design of its latest PS5 models. A revised PS5 model started appearing in Australia as of last month. And now YouTuber Austin Evans, which we're going to show and highlight a little bit more over here, has taken a look at all the internals and funny enough, did go and discover a lot of changes. Sony is using a now new, smaller motherboard for the PS5, different cooling, and has even changed the SSD enclosure as well. So, in my mind, some pretty big changes. So all of these changes actually add up to another weight reduction. So that's another nice thing, at least for Sony, because it does make the console easier to ship, and in theory that means they could, hopefully, send out more and help out with productions. But as well, it does kind of stink because it's basically that they also do save money on shipping, as I mentioned, but it also is a brand new console price increase, which doesn't really help other regions. So obviously, there thankfully has been no major big changes for the outside of the console, so even though it is getting more compact and tinier, it is also, funny enough, well, the same exact size. You can almost kind of see like these are kind of some good rough pictures of the various different consoles on the 1000, 1100, and 1200, where you guys can see it even just on the amount that's being put into the console itself. It is definitely quite a bit smaller. So as you guys can kind of see just the differences on this, that it literally looks like there's a big enough difference that we have to, I guess, acknowledge it when it comes to this. So a big thing was always on the heat sink being very, very heavy, and obviously copper and metals themselves that are very big inductors are always big issues for that too as well. So even just looking through all this stuff, you can kind of see the big differences tied on in. So some of the big things to kind of note, and this is probably a better picture for it as well, look at how big all of these things are. If you guys look at the 1000 series, look at how, first and foremost, huge this middle block is, and as well as also how the heatsink is. This is just like a massive block of metal and copper and all these different tubes that are essentially there to take away heat. And as you guys go to the 1100 as well, definitely does seem more streamlined. It kind of seems like it's a little bit like a little cutoff right here, but it seems a lot more smaller, seems more compact, does seem a little bit nicer. And as you as well go look at the 1200 series, looks even more slim. Like just you kind of look a little more like the width of all three of these systems. It looks way smaller on that end, but as well, even the big main component in the middle, although similar to this and similar to this, compared to this is massively smaller compared to this huge block right here, as well, massively smaller, and even compared to this, the width, as I mentioned, is a lot different. And it does kind of seem like the copper wires and stuff seem a little bit cooler, and it does also seem like it's a little bit more of a streamlined process. So instead of having like a lot of heat here, then a lot of heat here, then a lot of heat here, it kind of seems like it can kind of spread on out a lot quicker to get closer to the fans on the top and essentially keep your console cooler and make it a little bit nicer at the end of the day. So basically this is now the third different revised, this is the second revised model, third different model as well, and with the new motherboard and heatsink on the 2022 PS5, now weighs around 2.5 pounds, according to Evans. There's that pound lighter than the original design. That's insane, how basically 2 years can change it so much. Sony has also moved a lot of components around too as well in the internal. We'll show a little bit of a highlight of the video at the very tail end of the video, and it also does mean now that the CMOS battery is now completely hidden away under the heatsink, and it's kind of just like more of the internal clock / internal thing for the PlayStation. It was exposed before, making it easy to switch out, but Evans claims you'll now have to completely disassemble a PS5 to replace the CMOS battery. So that does make the whole system a little bit harder, because obviously if it breaks, they're big breaks, you have to fix it still, but thankfully the CMOS battery should usually last like 20 years, 20 plus years. So the SSD enclosure has also changed in the new PS5 model. It clearly has a PCB through the entire length, and instead has exposed metal. It's not immediately clear why Sony has changed, though, this particular part of the PS5 design, but Evans speculates it could help improve maybe heat dissipation, which, and at the end of the day, I think a lot of folks would agree, better heat dissipation is the better overall. All these changes might add to some real-world benefits for the PS5. Evans claims this new PS5 model pulls around 20 to 30 watts less. That does add up. Now, I'm not going to say it's the biggest deal known to man, but obviously for the longevity of your console, the better and more efficient it runs, the better everything is. For just general, like say it's the summer, I know it's still summertime for a lot of us, or heat waves, you don't want to be putting out more heat. And as well, if it does pull less wattage, it's also better for the electricity bills. Now, for 20 to 30 watts, it's not really make or break, but at the same time, it's still nice to be conscientious of it, especially if you're a big gamer. This also is pretty much around the same amount of heat, as well as also the same amount of noise. Sony shrank almost everything, including the motherboard, and as well as the internal packaging to make it lighter, and it's almost certainly cheaper for them, and that's why I'm kind of harping on them a little bit for kind of maintaining up these prices. I do think if they could somehow lower the shipping costs and lower everything else price-wise, and also keep that same price point as well, I think a lot more folks would have been happier than them cutting a little bit of corners, which it could still be more efficient, so it's not necessarily bad, but then also raising the prices at the same time. Like, it's kind of like you're basically cutting costs in two different areas, and I can see how people can maybe be upset. So as you guys know, besides the United States, every other region does have a price increase. So a lot of folks are kind of seeing this too as well. You can even see from Austin Evans' video, where they're having a chance to go kind of look a little bit more into the, just everything for the console itself. So you can kind of just see the big differences, as these are the three big major consoles as of right this second. As you guys can kind of, you guys have the rough idea. It's basically just less, like smaller motherboard, less internals, smaller heatsink. But as you guys can even go and see from this one, it does actually seem quite a bit different either way. We're seeing differences, as you guys can see from the SSDs. The fans do seem about the same. The layout is slightly more different though, and it's just very intriguing to kind of see the internals on how everything has actually changed. As you guys can see from this little still frame right here, it does go to show that there is a big difference in even just the board itself. And this is, I think, a bigger thing that they're trying to note, that it does seem like the heat dissipation does seem a little bit more efficient. Kind of imagine like if you have one really large straight line versus a few separations, the separations would probably dissipate the heat out that way instead of it all being collectively together and hanging out there longer. But as you guys can see, there's very big differences on every single one of these consoles so far, and I love the fact that people have had a chance to go look through it and see how it is and see how it actually affects the consoles nonetheless. But so far it does seem like it's a good change. So far it does seem like it's helpful for Sony and their price points, and as well it does seem seem like it's still optimized well and nothing really that different. And if you guys still have an older console, it's still very similar nonetheless in terms of performance, just maybe slightly less heat efficient. So love this video, and big shout outs to Awesome Heavens for even doing this in the first place. Give me your thoughts and comments down below. As well, if you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. We have the Target and Amazon links down below as well, and I appreciate you guys all so much for watching in the first place.